And with us in the studio today is a biochemist and cell biologist who is studying the molecular reasons for why we age. Christoph Englert from the Leibniz Institute for Age Research. Welcome to Tomorrow Today. Now, people on average are growing older and older. What does biology say? Are there any limits?
Probably yes. My personal prediction would be it's at about 120 years. Experience tells us that when we look at billions of people who have lived on Earth up to now, the oldest person has become 122 years old, and this has not changed since ancient ages.
So there just seems to be a biological limit within our cells, within our bodies, right?
Yes, that seems to be the case, and actually this is true for each species, not only for humans, but if you look at the mouse or at hydra or at other animals, there is a limit to individual lifespan.
But there aren't actually really any evolutionary reasons for why we should grow very old. But people, of course, want to grow very old. We found out a lot about the genes, about the gene FOXO. Is there any way to use that knowledge?
I think there is. It turns out that the evolution is very conservative. That means that the FOXO gene, of course, also exists in humans. So if we think that we can activate this gene and then we will become older, we can use this knowledge to basically downregulate anti-aging genes and activate genes which help us become old and in a healthy state.
But that would only increase the average lifespan, not the individual one?
I think this would be possible to increase both. It would not increase probably the maximum lifespan, because this is limited by a number of different processes, not only by one, and not determined by a single gene.
Yeah, but if every one of us could actually reach the age of 120, that wouldn't be bad. Would you like to have that age?
I'm not sure I would like to become 120.
No? Why not?
I think life still has to be meaningful, and you have to have something meaningful to do. If you're 120 and all your friends, your colleagues, your neighbors have died by now, I'm not sure.
They haven't died. They will also get 120.
Then it would be fine.
Then it would be fine. Does biology actually know why we do age?
That's a very interesting and basic question, which is still not completely answered. One of the hypotheses is that there are genes which are have a very good function in young age and actually have a bad function in old age. And this is why, for example, fertility might be increased in young people, but then the same genes actually do damages in old ages.
You actually work with fish and do your studies on the research of aging. Others work with the hydra. Why do you work with fish?
We work with fish because we feel that it's, of course, closer to humans. Hydra, of course, has its limitations when we compare it to the human situation. Fishes are vertebrates like humans, so the evolutionary gap between fish and humans is not as big. So we think what we can learn from the fish is easier to be transferred to the human situation.
And could you already increase the lifespan of the fish?
Actually, indeed we can. We have learned that by decreasing the water temperature, that by adding some substances, we can increase the lifespan of the animals.
Wow. Thanks a lot for the talk, Christoph Englert.
Thank you.